welcome. It's great to have you with us. Thank you for setting aside this time, for choosing to take a moment to worship God with others, to reflect, to listen, to be. In a moment, we're going to continue in this series on what it means to be church by reflecting on being a caring community. But for now, let's just take a moment to be still, to be quiet in God's presence. God of community, you call us together. You call us to care. You call us into your communion of grace. Jesus said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you."
The Lord's my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still waters. His goodness restores my soul, and I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home.
Guide my ways in righteousness, and He anoints my head with oil, and my cup it overflows with joy. I feast on His pure delights, and I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. And though I walk the darkest path, I will not fear the arrow wild. For you are with me, and your rod and staff are comforts I need to know. And I will trust in you, I will trust in, and I will trust in you, and trust in, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home.
Lord, our Good Shepherd, we praise and adore you for your presence in our lives, leading, guiding, watching over us in love. You call us by name and care for each one of us, wanting us to flourish and know life in all its fullness. You lead us to still waters for peace and refreshment. You nourish us and feed us and help us to grow. You teach us not to fear, but to trust in you. You grant us healing forgiveness and the chance to begin again. Thank you for the sense of belonging as we together follow you. And thank you for entrusting us to care for one another in the way that you have loved us. We do praise and adore you. Amen.
The idea of church as community, as family, is so important. We're not called to follow as individuals, but as a flock, as the body of Christ, joined together, rooted in God's love, supporting one another, caring for one another, growing together in faith. And we're not just called with those under the one same church roof, but called into relationship with partner churches around the world and with Christians more locally. It's special that Styles, St Mary's and Wilmslow have come together in this service, no longer constrained by our church buildings, and an added joy that we've become a gathered, worshipping community with those far beyond Wilmslow. I'd like to introduce you to some of those now who are part of our worshipping community. It is so great to have you together worshipping in this way.
The New Testament reading today is taken from Matthew chapter 14 and verses 13 to 21. I don't know about you, but most days when I switch on the news, I hear the vivid picture of a family member grieving for someone that they've lost, whether it be to COVID-19 or to another disease or terrorism or indeed violent crime. And Jesus was no exception. He was not immune from this. He just received the devastating news that his cousin, John the Baptist, had been beheaded at the hands of Herod. He too was a victim of a family member of violent crime. And the narrative takes up the story as to when Jesus has gone into a deserted place just to be quiet. Now, when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, and he cured the sick. And when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "Look, this is a deserted place. The hour is now late. Send the crowds away, so that they may go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to his disciples, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." The disciples replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he looked up to heaven, he blessed them and broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled, and they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides the women and children. Thanks be to God.
John the Baptist was so well known. Many will have gone to hear him teach or even have been baptized by him. The crowds have heard the news of his death, and you can imagine their collective grief and shock, coming perhaps to Jesus to seek solace, or coming in anger, hoping that he might lead an uprising against Herod. Jesus must have needed his own space to grieve, but he transforms his feelings in love of those in need. He has compassion upon them, heals them, and no doubt teaches them with words of assurance. The disciples, perhaps wanting to mirror Jesus's care, suggest that he sends them away so that they can get food before it gets dark. Jesus receives their suggestion, but takes it one step further, saying, "You feed them." You can imagine them laughing and just saying, "This is all we've got." But they offer that little, and he multiplies it. Some time ago, seeking to set up a group for people living with dementia, it seemed such an impossible task because there was too few people to even begin. But praying about it and talking with others, we found people who had shared that call, and with the help of local churches, wonderful WI members and local community volunteers, we were able to establish a community with such love and care and fun and laughter. Sometimes we give up before we even begin because we don't think we have sufficient. But grace can multiply. It's like with the food banks that, we might only be able to give a little, but the combined generosity of so many people enables the food banks to truly care in the community. Jesus nourished the crowds physically and spiritually. And that's the foundation for pastoral care within our church community, seeking to support people practically and praying for people too. Thank you for all of the ways in which you've picked up the phone, sent emails, cared and supported and prayed for members of your local community. Again, sometimes we feel so inadequate in what we can do, but somebody said to me recently, it just makes such a difference to know that people care. Thank you too to our pastoral visitors who have a very special ministry. Some of us are back to work and out and about in the community, but there are many others who will remain close to home in the coming weeks and months. So let's continue to find ways in which we can support them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. After the crowds had eaten, Jesus dismisses them and eventually goes up to the mountain to find some time to pray alone, even just for a short while. And it reminds us of our need for spiritual self-care. We can't keep giving and caring without stopping to be still in God's presence, praying for renewal and inspiration and strength through his Holy Spirit. I'd like to close by inviting you to reflect on Eulalia Clark's 1960s painting of the 5,000 from the Methodist art collection. As you look at this painting, what does it mean for you to be part of a gathered community of faith? Here they're physically nourished with a very British version, fish and chip supper, but also spiritually nurtured. See the pulpit representing God's word. Spot the woman brewing tea. How have you received care and support in community? And what might you be able to offer in care of others. We remember that what little we have, when we offer it in love, God can multiply. Amen.
There's a quiet understanding when we're gathered in the Spirit. It's a promise that He gives us when we gather in His name. There's a love we feel in Jesus. There's a manna that He feeds us. It's a promise that He gives us when we gather in His name. And we know when we're together, sharing love and understanding, that our brothers and our sisters feel the wonders that He brings. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jesus, for the way you love and feed us, for the many ways you lead us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
And now for our prayers of intercession. Great love, thank you for living and loving in us and through us. May all that we do flow from our deep connection with you and all beings. Help us become a community that vulnerability shares each other's burdens and learns to see all with the eyes of your compassion. We pray for all who are hurting, hearts breaking through personal loss. May we find ways to bring your comfort. We pray for all who are struggling with loss of work and economic uncertainty. May we find ways to support. We pray for those living with dementia and their carers. May we find ways to come alongside. We pray for all who continue to live with the pain of isolation and anxiety. May we find ways to reach out in love and care. We ask your blessing and healing for all who are unwell at home or in hospital, and pray for all those who are working to care for them. May we grow in our ability to listen, accept, be available, and offer your love and care. May we also be sensitive, though, to our own needs, and learn to be gentle and kind to self. We praise you for your loving compassion and care, and for calling us into community. Grant us your peace, your strength, and your love. In Jesus' name, Amen. Do join us wherever you are in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen.
Thank you for joining us for worship. For those of you who are local, just a reminder that Food Friends is now open to receive donations at St. Bart's. We'll put all of the information about the local food banks on our website. I know they very much value our support. For those of you who are further afield, do get in touch. We'll be showing more photos in the coming weeks. It's great to have you all with us. Next week, we'll be looking at what it means to be a witnessing community. Please do join us then. And now a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he look on you with kindness and give you his peace. Amen.